Welcome to Beauty Talent Talk. I'm your host, Debbie Johnson. We have the pleasure of having Angela Bennett as our guest. She has worked at top beauty companies and now certified executive coach and does consulting. So we're going to discuss how to make a strategic career move. So Angela, thanks for being here today.
All right, you're welcome.
Let's dive right in. So let's start off first by defining what does it mean to take a strategic approach to your job search?
I love this question, Debbie, and I work with a lot of career coaching clients on it. And it's so interesting, I find, because most of us in the beauty industry, we have had careers where we build strategic plans for brands, for products. But as people, we don't always think about building a strategic plan for ourselves. And that's what creating a strategic approach to a job search can be. And it could be a job search, it could be growing your career, it could be your next career move. So what I really like to narrow it down to is five key things. And I'll tell you what those five are, and I'll give you just a little tidbit, give everyone just a little tidbit on those 5 points. So first is approaching your next career move with a human connection hook. Second is having a clear point of difference. Third is a match to those job opportunities, so a skill match of what you are an expert in to that job opportunity. Third is really having your story down, your unique story, and telling it and being able to tell it over and over in a clear and concise way. And finally, it's a networking strategy. So I'll just give you a point or two on each of those. What do I mean by the human connection hook? I mean that in the beauty industry, we are attracted together to work in this industry because there's something about us that's like-minded. So often you get that, tell me about yourself, question, and people just rattle off their career history. I'm a marketer. I've done this. I've done that. I have these different skills. Well, a lot of people have those skills, but the first thing that you can talk about is the why behind your work. Why have you decided to work in the beauty industry and stay in the beauty industry? We're humans. We connect with humans, and we're all in this industry because there's something we love about it, the impact it has on people, on people's confidence. So starting off and having a plan for sharing your mission statement about why you work in this industry can connect you with like-minded people. Your point of difference, just like a brand, just like a product, that's your unique skills, your experience. No one else has walked in the shoes that you have with the same job experiences and skills that you've developed. And then that's where number 3, the match comes into play. So knowing yourself very well and matching up whatever you want to do next, whatever that job is that you're applying for, to your expertise, and making sure that your materials, your message, your resume, your LinkedIn match to what you're looking for. And then telling that story in a clear and concise way, and developing your networking strategy. That's one thing that has not changed.
Excellent. Love that. And it's so interesting when you talk about that connection piece and then tell me about yourself. I do find that tell me about yourself, probably 90% of interviews start off that way. And no matter what level you are, from entry level to executive level, it is a struggle to really nail that question. So to be able to go through those kind of 5 tips, I think are very strategic and winning strategies. So I want to go into the 80-20 rule. You and I have a lot of shared philosophies, and this is one that we certainly are very aligned on. So what does it mean, and how can it be applied to opportunities?
Yeah, and I've talked with you about this before, and I think it's a great, easy way to think about the match, the match of you as a person with skills and experience to whatever that job is that you're looking for to do next. So what's the 80-20 rule? So Debbie and I have talked about this. It should be that 80% of that job that you're intending to do next or that you're applying for falls within your area of expertise, what you're really good at. And 20% should be growth, because we all want to grow into what's next. And so I often get a lot of questions in terms of, well, I feel like I can do that job. I know I can do that job. But maybe you haven't done 80% of what's in the job description. And I would say, people ask me, well, is it impossible then to do something else than what I'm doing? But I think the 80-20 tells you that, every career move is an evolution. And it just means that if you have less than that 80, percent expertise in having done whatever it is in the job description, then you just have to work a little bit harder in terms of your influencing skills and building your bridge story to say, why is it that with your collective experience, you actually bring some new and different experience to the table? I'll give like an example. Maybe the company you came from is really ahead in digital or AI strategies or something like that. And you can say, okay, I haven't necessarily been on this category or in this industry, but I'm applying for a digital role and I'm coming from a company that has been ahead in digital strategies. So I bring something with me. Another example I'll give from my career history is say, working on a beauty brand in D2C e-commerce. So in some cases, as a recruiter, it was actually more interesting to take people outside of the beauty industry from companies like, say, Wayfair. So Wayfair is like way ahead of the game in D2C and e-commerce. So in this case, yes, someone may have been switching industries, or they were not from the beauty industry and they came into the beauty industry, but they brought something from the company that they came from. So there's the component of both experience, meaning like skills, D2C, e-commerce, and then there's the component of the industry. And so that's where you kind of have to look and know yourself very well and match up kind of both of what you bring to the table. Because at the end of the day, you want that person looking at your resume as a match to the job to say, yes, I can see very clearly and easily why this person applied for this job, because they have this experience and these skills that match up to what we need.
Excellent. Really great insight. Thank you for that. And let's talk about specific tools. When you look at tools that can be very valuable, candidates struggle with the resumes. There's often the complaints of the black hole of LinkedIn when they apply for jobs. Is there any tools to enhance a resume or highlight keywords for ATS systems, or just help match resumes to job opportunities?
Yes, well, the world is continuing to rapidly change in this area. So what I mean by that is AI. There are new AI tools coming out every single day. So the first shift that happened even before we get into some of the AI powered tools is that when we were growing up and applying for jobs, like you literally like mailed your piece of paper in an envelope to someone physically, and you're like, here's my resume. Okay, so the first thing that changed was applicant tracking systems, the ATS, as you call them. And I spent a year and a half at L'Oreal working in talent acquisition and talent management after my career working on brands. And so, of course, we had the applicant tracking system. And there are, it makes things easier for recruiters. Okay, so today, my coaching clients will say, I see on LinkedIn there's 500 other people that applied for this job. How am I ever going to stand out? So first of all, many companies are utilizing the applicant tracking systems. Some of them have what they call knockout questions. So if you don't answer yes or no to a particular thing that you have some kind of experience, then it will automatically give you the thank you for applying. You're not eligible for this role. So understanding that the systems now are often giving the first look is really important. And I explain that because that's why it's important to look at your resume and your application the way the screening system might first. And so because the screening systems are being used, That's why these AI-powered tools are becoming more popular and more of them are popping up every day. So I'll give you an example. One that I recommend that you can just do for free is JobScan. So jobscan.io, I think it is. Basically, you load in your resume, you load in the job description, and it will scan it like the applicant tracking systems do. And it'll tell you the percentage that your resume matches up to this job description. So it gives you ideas on, what skills might you have that you actually didn't explicitly write that way. The other, LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn today. LinkedIn just launched this year a whole bunch of AI powered features. So content generation, the AI will suggest, changes to the resume based on the job description. So similar to the job scan, again, it's looking at job description. Do you match up? It has an AI assistant for skills to identify and suggest skills. It even has cover letter assistance. And then I would say the other area where tools can be very beneficial is that resumes have evolved to this kind of, nouveau look, so the old, very text heavy, when a human finally does look at the resume after there's been this initial vetting, there's still so many more of them than the few that came in the mail, years ago. And so the recruiters and the HR and even the hiring managers have to be able to digest them very easily. So even tools like Canva have resources to build out AI-powered stuff, again, to help you build out your resume in a designed way. So they have template selection, and they have formatting assistance. And then, of course, there's always resume writers. They're still out there. They know what some of the greatest, templates are that can visually represent your career in a visually appealing way and professional layout. And so I do still recommend live humans in addition to some of these cool AI-powered tools that are coming out.
Yeah, AI has been fascinating. I love it. I've incorporated a lot of what I do, but I still think at the end of the day, and I know you'll agree, Angela, it's all about networking. You want to elevate your resume, you want to leverage the tools, but networking, and specifically for the beauty industry, because it's so small, I always say 1 degree separation. That is going to be your number one method to, get in front of a qualified executive for hiring.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to break through. It's competitive out there. There are a lot of people applying for any given role. And so networking, I agree, is the one thing that still has not changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just before we go on to the last question, Debbie, I do want to say Angela and you both know a lot about this subject. So anybody who's watching, if you do have any questions or anything you want to put to the panel, please pop them in the chat and I will bring them up as we go through. But back to you now, Debbie.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a recruiter, I always look at, I'm a problem solver, whether it's working on searches with clients or candidates. And I love, one of the topics we've discussed is how you help a candidate really position themselves to be the solution to a employer's problem or challenge. Can we talk about that in more detail?
Yeah, what I love about the way you said that is that it's a mindset shift. And what I mean by that is that when you start to think about the fact that any particular job that someone is looking to fill is essentially an opportunity for a company to solve a problem or a challenge with talent, with a person, then you can start to approach it again. I started saying, it's about making your strategic presentation of yourself, your strategic approach to a career, which is your unique story, your point of difference. So that's where it comes into play. If you start to adopt the mindset that this job that someone's trying to fill is about solving some kind of challenge and need that this company has, and how can I be the answer to that, then you start to look at things with new eyes, starting with that job description. And I say in marketing, and whether we're talking about, positioning yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing, or you're talking about positioning a product, it's all about specificity. So even let's think about skincare. I spent my career in skincare, right? So at the top is the beauty industry. Then there's skincare products. But you don't just go to the store saying, I'm looking for a skincare product. You're either looking for a moisturizer, or even further than that, you're looking for a moisturizer with specific benefits, or you're looking for a moisturizer around the eyes for puffiness. So same thing with a job description. That job description is trying to tell you something very specific about what their needs are. What are the cues in there? So I tell people to really dissect it and say, what are the key messages that this job description is trying to tell us about where they're needing to solve challenges. So, and again, hiring managers, often they're looking for someone that is bringing something specific that can solve a problem. So I'll give two quick examples, because sometimes an example, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So let's say I was hiring someone. I worked on La Roche-Posay skincare for many years, great brand. I needed someone who knew about sunscreen. Okay. And so I have the choice of looking at resumes for people that worked on hair, worked on makeup. But if I found someone that worked on sunscreen and I had no one else on my team that knew anything about sunscreen, certainly I was going to be very attracted to talk to that candidate as a solution to my problem when we were building out our sunscreen. But then there came a time when it was very important that we were going into new retailers, let's say Target, the year La Roche-Posay entered into Target. Well, and again, it may have been a job description that said, okay, you're going to work on sunscreen, you're going to work on moisturizers, but we're also looking for retail expertise, and particularly Target. If that was in the job description, then in that case, someone that worked on sunscreen may have been less important. And if there was someone who worked on hair or something else, but they had recently developed businesses in the Target account, then that was going to be the answers to my need at that moment. So a job description can very much give us cues into what problems hiring managers and companies and brands are trying to solve. And that can be an additional way for you to build your strategic approach to your communication, to tailor what you say about yourself and your nutshell, your story in a nutshell, to be the answer to the needs that they have today. And at the end of the day, you want that hiring manager to be able to say, yes, this person can bring what I need. This is what I need right now. And I think it's a mindset. It's a mindset to not just say, yes, I feel the skills, I've done these things, I can do it at this company, but really try to understand strategically what are they trying to solve, and you can elevate your conversation so that they can feel like you're a better match than maybe someone that just does the traditional chronological run through of their resume. Yes, tick, 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 I've checked certain boxes here, but you have an elevated strategic conversation when you're interviewing.
Yeah, such great information. And my question to you, Angela, so I would say in my experience is like 50-50. 50% of resumes, job descriptions that I get, and I work a lot with clients to focus on what I call a roadmap, specific results they're looking to achieve. And then 50% are general, probably just copied off of something on the internet, and then they have created that as their job description. When there's a very minimal job scope, or there's not a lot laid out for challenges for them to bring solutions to the table, is there any techniques that you recommend and how they can kind of formulate their strategy when there's not a lot in the job description?
Yes, I do actually. It's very interesting, because I was just going through this with one of my career coaching clients. So one of the strategies that I always encourage is to try to open up the conversation first in your interview. So once you're in front of that person you're interviewing with, we all have at least a page of experience. And it doesn't matter if you're a year out of college or you have, 20 years of experience. You've had experiences, you had internships, you've done tasks, and there's lots of things that you can talk about. So one of the tips I always say is, I can take you through my career experience, but before I do that, are there specific areas of my experience that you're interested most in hearing more about? And if you can get the person to guide you to say, oh, well, I saw, you launched a product in Target. I'd love to know more about that specifically. Then you know where to speak more and speak less. And this, I would say, is one of the challenges a lot of clients have, which is, again, they go to, and sometimes it's nerves, they go to chronology and say, I started here, then I did this, then I moved to that company, then I did that. And now you're just talking and you're talking and you're talking. And oftentimes they don't even pause, And so the more you can pause in that first tell me about yourself, and try to elicit an engaging conversation with the person that's listening to you. It's like, I even acknowledge, I've just spent a bit of time on my time at L'Oreal. I could go deeper into that, or I can tell you about my current position where I'm currently coaching and consulting, whatever it is, being able to pause and turn it into a conversation and be sure that you are not just doing a litany of talking where you're going to lose your audience, which is essentially the person you're interviewing with. So I love that attempt to have it engage, attempt to ask a question about what's most important to the person that you're interviewing with first, and see what you can get out of them.
Absolutely. That's great insight.
Amazing. So what I found really fascinating about that is actually making it a conversation. It harks back to one of the first things you said, is that we're people and people want to deal with people. And I really, really enjoy that. So we are coming towards the end in a moment. But did you have any other points on that, Angela, that you wanted to draw out before we start kind of coming down to the power tips at the end?
I think it's just full circle to that strategic approach again. And one of the things I would reiterate is that you can build a strategic presentation of yourself for yourself. And it doesn't mean that you would present that PowerPoint to someone. But if you think about what you do all day at work, whatever you work on, whether you do digital strategy, whether you do creative strategy, you do marketing strategy, but you always have an objective and a mission behind what you do. You have a point of difference or advantages of what makes something stand out. And you put together something in a very clear, concise way, and then you put your marketing plan together. So your marketing plan is the networking. Once you have the story, and I say the unique point of difference of you is, it can be 3 strategic pillars of you. How would you break down your experience, not just in the places that you work, but into buckets of skills and expertise of what you bring to the table? So you have your connecting moment, your mission behind why you do this kind of work. You have your unique story and the 3 pillars of you. You've got your nutshell, clear, concise communication. And then once you have that, networking is your marketing plan of how you're going to get your message out there. So I think a lot of what we talked about today comes back to tips on putting together that strategic approach.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Okay. As I mentioned, we are coming towards the end of the show now. So in a second, we're going to come back to Angela for some more power tips. But before then, Debbie, can you tell us about our next show next month?
Absolutely. So next month, our guest speaker is going to be Lauren Lecrae. He's a previous SVP of Global Innovation at Tatcha, Chief Innovation Officer at Voyant, and he was a previous VP of Innovation across multiple brands, Luxury Brand Partners, which is an incubator. And the focus of the episode is really going to be breaking boundaries. So highlighting his success working across different categories, distribution channels, and from the brand side to the supplier side as a leader. You know, for those who are looking to expand or diversify, I know that can be challenging trying to break the barrier of getting into new category. I mean, we're going to talk through his success in doing just that. So it'll be an exciting episode.
Very, very much looking forward to it. Okay, Debbie, do you want to ask our final question for Angela about these kind of power tips before we leave?
Yeah. So Angela, you've done an extensive amount of hiring and are still involved in hiring today. So can you share with us what you look for when interviewing candidates?
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one because of course there's always the experience, right? Does this person have the experience to be able to do the job? But often by the time, I'm hiring someone's done that work for me, the recruiters, they've put 3 people in front of me that have the skills and experience. So what is it beyond that? And I would say, one thing I look for, and it's amazing how sometimes people miss this, is familiarity with the brand or the products or the category. And even if they don't know the brand, I've worked on some new brands that people didn't know, but between the time you applied for the job and got in front of me, I would expect that you try some of the products, have some opinions on some of the products, and even if you've never worked in, say, skincare before, on a brand, but you want to, where is that passion coming from? Oh, I've always, talked with my friends about skincare. I like these ingredients. I'll ask people to describe a favorite skincare product. So do they just say, oh, it's a moisturizer, I can't remember the name, it just feels good on my skin? Or can they describe why they bought it and they get into points of difference and ingredients and science? And so I understand that they have a true passion. And then I would say case study examples. So beyond, yes, I've done marketing. Yes, I've worked with creative agencies. Yes, I've run digital campaigns. I don't really know what you did. I know you're saying you did those things, but I need an example, which is I was able to turn this brand around with a new digital strategy because at the time the category was sleepy. There wasn't innovation. Most brands were talking about X, Y, and Z. We gained these insights and positioned our products differently and developed an engaging campaign, which was titled and said, specifically what it is. So I look for specific examples so that I truly believe the answer and the skills, and that it's not just a list of skills. There's real concrete work behind it. And lastly, energy. You have an energy and the conversation goes, and I know this a lot with my career coaching clients, there's just has to be this flow and this feeling of, you want to join this company, this project, this whatever. And I believe you have genuine motivations for wanting to join.
Yeah, something to be said. Passion is extremely important. We all want to work with passionate people.
Yeah.
Amazing. We have had a question just before we round up. So if anybody has got any questions, please pop them in the chat and I'll bring them up to Angela and Debbie. And I'm actually going to ask both of you this question. I'm going to start with you, Angela. The question is from Amy. Do you feel the LinkedIn banner open to work is helpful or potentially harmful to your first impression? So I'm going to come to you first, Angela.
Yeah, that I do get that question. And I think that it is a choice. I think it depends on how early or later you are in your career. I think the earlier you are in your career, there, first of all, are a lot more jobs open and there's more opportunities, and it wouldn't be atypical to see, especially young professionals out there looking for their first job. The more senior you become, I do find that that's usually career moves that are more behind the scenes. And it's not typical for a more senior level person to be like, I'm open to work. Typically, they're finding their next move through networking, through working with recruiters. So I'm interested to hear Debbie's take.
Yeah, Debbie, I'm coming to you now.
Yeah, I mean, the open to work, I think obviously if you're unemployed, that's a must-have to have that open. And I think it depends on the individual. I mean, we work with so many candidates on a confidential basis that that's not going to be something they're comfortable with. They don't want especially beauty industry being so small, that to be advertised out there. So I just think it depends on the intentions. Now, if it's a company where the writing is on the wall, financially they're unstable, and you want to be as active as possible, then you probably want to broaden your horizon and having opportunities knocking on your door. There's never anything wrong with that. It is going to alert recruiters and hiring managers to get in contact with you. So I really think the answer is going to be depending on the individual and how they want to approach the job search. And how active, and if they want to advertise that they're looking or not, is going to be up to the individual.
Amazing. Okay. Right then, we have in fact come towards the end of the show now. So Debbie, do you want to do a roundup and send us off?
Absolutely. So Angela, thank you for joining us today. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you and have a follow-up, is LinkedIn the best method to reach out?
Absolutely. Just, message me, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We look forward to having you tune in next month for the next episode. Have a great day.